Hello, everybody. Welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around Fantasy Premier League. My name's Serge.
And my name is James.
It does revolve around Fantasy Premier League. The game for 2025-2026 is officially open, James. Opened yesterday. So nice of you to break up that holiday. What's the holiday, boss? To get on the mic. We thought we'd better put out a bit of content before you actually go away. Well, I'm back from my holiday, squeeze in a little chat. It's been a little while. Doesn't feel like as long as it has been because I hear your voice every day,
Sorry, mate.
listening to the pods. But
Does your
yes,
wife still love me?
there was a couple of occasions when I was on holiday in I just come back from Thailand. What a blessed place. That will be a Patreon podcast for when we've got some time in August, where we were in cabs going to places, right? And so her and the two boys are in the back, I'm in the front. And she just sees me like laughing. She's like, "Why are you laughing? What are you listening to?" And I'm like, "It's Nico's Corner, babe." She's like, "All right, I understand." She goes, "I can't get that one, can I?" And I was like, "No, and nor will you get this
No,
episode of
no.
Nico's Corner." But yes, my wife does still love you because I got earbuds, and she didn't have to listen to all of the content whilst I was away. Got to say, massive thank you, of course, to you for holding the fort and pumping out so much good stuff, as well as all of the guests that filled my shoes or Clayton's shoes or were guesting on as well because it's been some really good stuff to keep up with. There's still a whole bunch of it that's available for free on Patreon as well. Anything that was published not last week, the week before, right?
7th to the 17th.
Yeah, is all available should you want to go back and listen to some of it. However,
You
now
might
that the
want to not
game
bother with the FPL stuff. The other
now
stuff's
that the
good.
game is live, and I mean, there is probably more changes in the last few days that have been announced by the towers than have been in years. We should, I guess, react to all of it as well as a little bit on the pricing and the players that have been revealed. You obviously are on holiday, so I'm hoping you haven't made a draft. I only got back,
Obviously.
obviously, I only got back yesterday. I created my account, but I did auto pick and then spent 10 minutes trying to figure out how to make a transfer and gave up. So I haven't made any transfer. I haven't made a draft yet, but we will talk. I've been through all of the teams and the pricing of the players and made a kind of watch list and we've had a look through. But that drafts and all of that stuff will come after you've got yourself a nice little tan in a week or so.
That, mate. I'll be sitting in the shade.
Yeah. Oh, okay. True. Well, actually, to be honest with you as well, the drafts will really come after correspondent week. Just give the listeners a heads up. When is that happening, and what can they bookmark themselves ready to listen to?
So yeah, it wasn't meant to be any content, but being such kind of we had an inkling that it was going to be this week, so I had something planned in if it was the start of the week. So correspondent week is August the 4th, 20 podcasts in 5 days. That's with all of our 20 Premier League correspondents. We'll be back on August the 1st. So we'll probably have a look at some drafts there. But the idea of the pod on August the 1st is to kind of do an update of whatever happens over the next 10 days, newsworthy between now and obviously that starting. And then we'll see what the guys think. It would be interesting to look at a draft before and after correspondent week
Yeah,
because
for sure. I think
that's
the
invaluable stuff, particularly with the free promoted guys more than anything.
well, the biggest challenge for me is the budget players from the promoted sides. Where's the value? Because I look through Burnley, Leeds, Sunderland, and I would say 95% of the players in those teams, I'm like, who? Like I don't know anything about them. So, and quite often, more often than not, that's where your value picks will probably come from. So I definitely think for those promoted teams, I'm really looking forward to that. So yeah, all good. Cool. Where should we start? Do we want to start in order of how they have announced these changes?
We could, yeah. CBIT and CBIRT. Um,
DEFCON.
yeah, if you like. Yeah. We've got points potentially now for defensive players for contributions. Two extra points for a defender who completes 10 clearances, blocks, interceptions, tackles in a game. And if you add in recoveries from midfielders and forwards, they have to get 12 across a game. What do we think of this first and foremost? They've kind of, for the first time, opened up the possibility of defensive midfielders here, haven't they?
I think it's a great change, and I like the concept behind it. We never know how it will play out until it plays out. Obviously, you can go retrospectively and look at who would have scored the points and that kind of thing. And that's a certain level of indication of how it will play out. When I was thinking about it after a few days, I think the only change I would make is I'd actually make it 3 points, not 2 points. And I'm interested in your opinion on this. Is a defensive contribution the same as an assist? The likelihood of someone making a defensive contribution, is it the same as the likelihood of someone making an assist? Will there be as many DEFCONs as there will be assists over the season?
No, there's going to be more DEFCONs, mate.
Do you think so?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't
loads.
I didn't do the stats on that. Okay, in the sense that if there is more DEFCONs than assists, then I can understand it being 2 points rather than three. But I would have liked to see it on a par with an assist, maybe. I was thinking about a Rodri. If he gets 1 point for a clean sheet, 2 points for a DEFCON, that's 5 points. I don't know whether I'd rather see him get 3 points for a DEFCON, but by all means, yeah, I think it's really interesting. Not only defensive midfielders, centre backs.
Yeah, I mean, centre backs in terms of clearances, particularly. And I think
Mm,
it's probably important to separate these a little bit. I had a look at the top four performers who are still in the league from last season's data, and there's a few bits stand out. So, top for clearances last year: Murillo 242, Nathan Collins 220, Max Kilman 218, James Tarkowski 209. Right, there's a theme with these guys, right? They all play for teams who quite often don't have a lot of the ball, and they're big units at centre back.
yeah,
Clear theme. But compare that to, say, top four blocks. It's the same four players, by the way: Collins, Murillo, Tarkovsky, and Kilman. But the most for blocks last year was Nathan Collins, 57. So the clearances most was 242, blocks 57. So I think like just there straight away, focus more towards who's making a lot of clearances rather than worrying about, oh, he's top for blocks. Doesn't matter so much. Interceptions, it's also low, right? Your boy
yeah,
Aaron Wan-Bissaka was most last year, 66. Anthony Robinson, Ryan Gravenberch, and Virgil van Dijk were the top four. But again, that number is nowhere near comparable for clearances. Tackles, as you would expect, a little bit higher. Idrissa Gana Gueye was most last year, 133. Daniel Munoz, 123. So there's potential there for attacking, and he likes to tackle anyway. João Gomez is a bit of a monster at Wolves in terms of ball win, and Matsurawi was actually the next most, 115. But that's still, you're still talking about sort of half the numbers of the clearances.
yeah,
So simplify it. Who's making a lot of clearances? And it's quite straightforward, I think. Teams that are not going to have too much of the ball, going a bit more low block, headed clearances from crosses, all the like of this,
yeah, yeah,
is an easy way, I think, of simplifying this. On recoveries, which is obviously added for the midfielders and forwards, that's the bit that really brings kind of your holding midfielders into play. So Moises Caicedo made 225 recoveries last year, I found. Bruno Fernandes was next most,
mm,
211. And I think that explains away quite a lot why he's been priced in higher than Cunha and Bumo. Elliot Anderson at Forest,
yeah.
206. And João
The other thing
Gomez
with
there again.
Bruno is obviously with Cunha and let's say Mbeumo still gets locked in. I think it's any day now. He'll play deeper, and deeper he'll recover the ball more potentially. So those games when he's playing higher at number 10, he's not going to be recovering the ball as much deeper in a deeper line role. He will like he's a really interesting player, and
There's a
with this as
trade-off,
a
isn't there? You might lose a
yeah,
bit
you
going
lose some of the
forward, but you're gaining
assist
something else from him possibly.
potentially. Yeah,
Yeah, João Gomez is a very interesting one. You look at him was third for tackles and fourth for recoveries. Right, you start combining that. So I mean, across the season, there he's got what 316. Start doing the maths, right?
yeah,
380. If it was 10 every week, would be 380. So he's not far away from that. He's kind of an average of what's that sort of eight a game. So that's a really interesting one. He'll pick that up regularly enough. Yeah, it's interesting because João Gomez would never pick him, right?
you'd never, you'd never.
In FPL.
Yeah, it's the double whammy because not only are you looking at players in positions that you wouldn't have chosen, it's also from clubs that you wouldn't because naturally teams in the lower half of the table will be defending more and therefore more defensive contributions. So you get the double bubble of opening up teams that you might not look at and players that you might not look at.
Did you listen to the podcast I did with Jacob Hinchcliffe?
I did not.
So Jacob won our mini league last year. We looked at the
Yeah.
differences between me and him, and essentially all it was the amount of points he got from goals.
Oh, really?
So
Yeah.
now, so I'm looking at João Gomez and going, "You're not my solution to having a better FPL season."
Well, he
So
wasn't. He wasn't when you recorded that podcast. He might be now.
yeah, it's interesting. I like it. There's a lot of players now available in the game that wouldn't have been, and I think some of the pricing of the centre backs, Murillo's, Milenkovic, Tarkowski,
Yeah.
Branthwaite, is reflective of expectation. I think with them, it would be important to say like Murillo and Milenkovic would have been the two top scoring defenders if this had been in
Mm.
play last year. But now they're at 5.5. They've got to match what they did last year to hit that again, right? Because remember,
Yeah.
there's still a decent number of clean sheets in there, for example, last year, and others may well improve. So I think rather than going, Murillo and Milenkovic did best last year, it's like, who's going to do it this year from the 4.5s? And if you can
Yeah.
find that, and that would be ideal. I saw a clip from Late Riser from the FPL Wire this morning on socials. It's so spot on what he was saying about possibly a little bit of adjustment with these cheap defenders of not worrying about the fixtures so much. Because the more defending they're going to have to do, the more likely they are to pick up clearances, etc. I mean, the examples used the FPL put out for, say, James Tarkowski was in a game away to Manchester City. The Moises Caicedo tackles one was shown in a game at home to Arsenal.
Right.
It weren't like when they were playing. So the more defending you got to do, the more chance you've got of obviously picking up these points. So it's possibly an adjustment for us with these 4.5 defenders, understanding that if they were to say Everton won 1-0 at Man City, Tarkovsky is hauling, mate.
Mm.
And knowing
And
that if you bench
suddenly,
that and they do, you're
yeah.
missing it.
When we look at fixture swings, you're right. Okay, these guys have got good fixtures. A player from a team like Everton, let's say Tarkowski, if he's got Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool as a three, you'd be like, okay, I'm not having none of that because there's no clean sheets. There might be other points in that. So how you look at runs of games
Even
potentially
if you
can change
looked
a
at a
little bit as
spell like
well.
that, if he's probably starting on kind of a base rate of probably like 3 points,
3 or 4, yeah.
probably, unless they
Yeah.
concede 4 in each of those games. So if you hauled in one of them and got, say,
It's
an
worth
11
it.
pointer, you're looking at probably 17 points across the 3 games or so.
which
So
is
we
which
need
is
to,
game changing. Yeah, it's good. I like the fact that we now have more things to think about from picking our squads like that. Yeah, definitely a fan of this. You never know how it will play out till it plays out, but definitely a fan of this change for sure.
I think,
It's been a
I
it's
think,
been a dilemma for ages. How do we make defensive
yeah,
midfielders interesting for ages?
I like it. I'm happy with it. My concern always with this is that their view in terms of the game point, in terms of the global, is this too confusing for many people? It's like, oh, it's an extra layer I've potentially got to look at. But I would say to people who've never looked at this sort of data before, like simplify it for the centre backs and focus on clearances, and then
Mm.
obviously tackles and recoveries for your midfield players. That's what I
Yeah.
would simplify it that way for you.
The only
Um,
thing on tackles as well, and I don't want to jump ahead to BPS, but they've changed the tackles element of BPS.
mm.
So it's just tackles one. So where you're looking at defensive contributions with tackles one, that will help boost your BPS a little bit as well for like a João Gomez or something.
Yeah, yeah. So take a Casado or a João Gomez, they might hit this 2 pointer, and if they do
Helps them, yeah.
excessively well, they might also hit a bonus now as well.
Mm, yeah. So really
Interesting.
interesting.
We've got double chips, which
Yes.
which is something that had been floating around various DM groups. It wasn't like ITK or anything. Although thank you to Nico for putting out the graphic on a short that said there was no more wild cards.
I saw that. Yeah.
Which caused a load of panic. And as soon as we spotted that, we pulled it down. Sorry if people felt they were misled with that. So yeah, 2 bench boosts, 2 free hits, two triple captains, 2 wild cards. Wild cards same as normal, and the other 3 chips are matching that. So you've got to use one of each in the first 19 game weeks, which means we're probably doing chip strategy every week now. So I'm happy.
Yeah. 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 Again, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I think that's simplified. I think most people wanted the Arse Man binned, didn't they? So
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm on board with that, and I did really well out of that last year. But no, I think this simplification of the chips is fine. My only downside on it is I think obviously now you've got each in both half. I actually think the game wasn't that template in the second half of last season compared to many normal years because of things like the Arse Man. I think most will go, yeah, I'm free hit, triple captain, wildcard, all around that kind of period of like 32 to 34 that we had last year, except say the Salah triple captaincy a little bit more. So last year, like you had that triple captaincy and Arseman split, like
Yeah.
when Liverpool had the double doubles. Now you're just getting triple captain over that sort of circumstance. So I think second half of the season, people will probably find themselves on a very, very similar path. But it opens up a lot of possibilities for the first half of the season. That's
Well,
really
this is it,
interesting.
right? I think it's two sides of the coin, right? So if the second half we default to as really engaged managers is like play around the doubles. That's when you use your chips. That's our comfort zone, as I would call it, working around the doubles and figuring that out. It forces us in the first half of the season to use chips in ways that are outside of our comfort zone, which is looking for the single game weeks. I think there'll be a lot more nerves around playing chips in the single game weeks in the first half of the season for people because it is outside of our comfort zone. And I like that. Definitely. I like that. I mean, there's already a lot of talk around bench boost game week one being the possibly a good time to use it. I've not really looked at when
Been
it
here for
might be.
years, boss. Where you
Yeah,
all
yeah,
been?
I know, I know. Maybe that's why they made the change, James. But yeah, I think I like it because it forces people to think outside of their regular mindset and comfort zone to be able to do it. Overall, in a good season, look, a really good Arse man, we were talking was 50 points, right? With a really good outcome from these three chips, probably similar 50 points, 55, 60 points, maybe. So, in terms of the additional point gain that you could get out of the three additional chips, maybe 50, 60 points. So, it's not going to, well, I suppose it could be the difference between someone winning or not. But yeah, it's similar in terms of points gain. But yeah,
Yeah,
interested
I
to see
think
how it
we'd
plays out.
lower expectation on it a little bit if we're using some of these chips in. It's not
A
an
single game
expectation
week.
of double the points. If I mean, it'd be very easy here. I'll give you an example. I've heard some people talking about free hitting in game week two, which I understand because game week two looks absolutely terrible, but you get that one really good Arsenal fixture in
Arsenal.
there.
Mm,
So you go treble Arsenal certainty at home to Leeds. But then you look around at what else in game week two with like Burnley and Sunderland playing each other and you go, yeah, treble Bournemouth at home to Wolves. Right, what else am I having? It's like you're trying to avoid Newcastle against Liverpool and maybe Man City against Tottenham. Particularly people may well have some decent Tottenham coverage at the start of this season. But you could very easily free hit into that. Like treble Arsenal, treble Bournemouth, take a couple of L's and get outscored by the team you're selling. Definitely.
yeah.
So that's even a possibility. Whereas if you're free hitting in a double or blank, you're kind of guaranteed to probably at least make a gain. So that could happen this year. I think things like Haaland at home to Burnley in game week six will probably be popular and stuff. I think as well, the closer we get, the more people will want to use them early to try and get that good start. And also, the first 3 weeks of the season are kind of the only ones you can be really certain you're not going to get a lot of rotation because there's no
It's true.
cup. Well, there is League Cup second round, but all the Premier League clubs will largely rotate for that. Once you get beyond game week four, you got the European fixtures, etc. So I've mentioned before about wildcard in game week 13. You think, oh, set for a bench boost game week 14 afterwards, and the fixtures look great for it. Midweek, yikes.
Yeah.
That or Liverpool can't rotate at home to Sunderland in game week 14, for example. Yeah, that's the worst thing about a bench boost, isn't it? You at least want some
Yeah.
minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
No guarantee, particularly if you say like your Kirkes, Frimpongs, well, it can't be like Bradley and Robertson for a game like that. Yeah, that could be a real headache. So I think in my mind, particularly bench boost earlier, I would like to do it in game week one. I wanted to do it anyway before the changes. Um, Triple captain will just fall into place, I think. Free hit, I need to look at it properly. I haven't yet, but I don't like that game week two. I'm not I'm
Yeah.
not I'm not a fan of that. I'd almost rather triple captain like Saka or Gyökeres in game week two, I think, than free hit in game week two, if presumably Gyökeres goes to Arsenal.
One of the things with the free hit is it might naturally you might find yourself in a situation where you end up with um injuries and rather than wanting to pull the wild card or what have you, you've got a week where you've got injuries, you don't really want to burn transfers, you want to rack them up. So more often than not, there's always a scenario where everything conspires against you and you have fires to put out. It gives you an opportunity to potentially use the free hit for that. There is another fire in the season that they've given us a change to help navigate.
Yeah, I don't like this.
Me neither. I just, do you know, I just feel like they're making it easy. It's like a get out of jail free card. I'm like, come on, I want to work. I want to
Yeah.
navigate my season. I want to work for my money. I want to figure out how I'm going to deal with AFCON or not and use my transfers carefully. This is basically a get out of jail free card, kind of just makes it too easy. And and also five free transfers you topped up to. How many people will end up with five players going to AFCON that they need to kind of fix? I don't
No,
know.
very unlikely. But I mean, it's worth saying
Don't
like
know.
the City and Liverpool have like great fixtures before that. So it's conceivable someone could have like eight Nori, Marmoush, Salah. But my personal take on that is, well, you know what you've got to deal with if you have these
Yeah,
sort of players
yeah,
in
yeah.
the run up. So if I wildcarded in 13, you'd be thinking, well, do I take Mo for 3 or 4 game weeks and
Mm,
then switch him about? Do
mm.
I not gamble on the likes of Marmoush and eight Nori? It opens up the prospect of having them more before it comes round, so you don't have to worry about it. I think it's essentially like an early Christmas present for people. And I think the reason they've done it, I think, is probably more for communities in terms of their engagement outside of Europe, more into sort of Africa and the Middle East and Asian areas and stuff, is to keep their investments still going. So they don't, it's
Yeah,
like,
but
right, come, okay, you've got these problems, don't give up. Here's 5 free transfers. I think just think about the game a little bit more globally rather than just us. I get it. I don't like it.
James, Q&A, your Ask James live stream, Game Week 16. I'm already telling you that 50% of the questions are going to be, why do I have five free transfers in my account? Why do I have five free transfers? I think there's just going to be so many people that are going to get there and be like, oh,
Nah.
what's happened there?
No, it'll be more the week before, game week 15 when I do the streams. But should I use all my transfers? Yes, you should. Yes, you should.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly that. You need to work to getting down to zero transfers in that Game Week 15. Yeah.
I have to say, my instinct on that would be not in terms of I'm using it to cover for AFCON, but it's like, right, I don't need to plan to get up to 5 free transfers for the February, March bit where we might have, say, Carabao Cup final postponement brings the game forward. But like, right now, you're setting me to 5.
Can
Now I'm
keep
ready
holding my
to.
five. Mm.
Yeah, so it's not changed my viewpoint in terms of maybe wildcarding around about game week 13. It's more now, okay, I don't need to chop things about so much over Christmas. And hopefully then I can stay at that point because I just never got there last year. So
Mm.
it might work in favour. I think, yeah, that's the big one is obviously make sure you use all your transfers in game week 15. I should have said, by the way, free hit. You can't free hit in game week 19 and 20. I don't suppose anyone would want to, but you can't. Because they
Okay.
say you have to revert back to the team you had the previous week. So they're
Right.
saying you can't
Okay.
use 2 free hits in
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
succession.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I don't love it because I think the more difficult
Yeah, I don't
the
like it.
better. And I
Don't
would
like
have
it.
liked the carnage around that. I guess as well, everyone who had Salah probably would have brought in Haaland at that point, particularly with Marmoush going as well. You think, oh, Haaland's pretty safe for this period. So that's like a transfer anyway. So now you can use your transfers on other bits, I suppose
Yep.
would probably be the thought process. So I don't love it, but I understand the reasoning behind it. So that's yeah, what you said I think is right. Get out of jail free card that
Mm.
you've got 5 frees from there if you want them. We've had a change to assists as well.
Yep.
So there'll be more assists next season. This is I think the correct thing, by the way, like this. So if a player receives in the box via a cross via one touch, an assist will be given. We've had too much ambiguity around was he the
Mm.
intended target or wasn't. Like I remember one was absurd that Trent didn't get in a game a couple of years ago, and he never got given it because of a deflection on the cross. They've kind of enabled that now where it's clear for people, and it will stop some of the arguments. The fact that they've kind of used the terminology of if the player receives in the box, they'll get it. If they're outside the box, they won't.
They've got to be the intended
It's
target.
fine. Defensive errors will now not be penalised. I use an example where I think it was Alex Scott played a pass down to Semenyo against Fulham last year, and Robinson kind of tripped over his feet, but then Semenyo didn't. Scott didn't get the assist because Semenyo kind of intercepted it. They're now saying that defensive touch would be irrelevant, and also if you force a handball, the player that forces it, I guess from I don't know last kick, most common circumstances will get given the assist as well. I think it's just over 40 extra assists. So we look at an extra assist a game week. But I also view these things and think none of these are controllables.
Yeah,
None
I
of
look
them
at it and I'm
whatsoever.
like, change it, don't change it. It didn't. I was just like, all right, whatever. I didn't have an opinion on it, to be honest with you. It felt to me like It's your game, your rules. You just tell me what the rules are. I'm not going to campaign one way or another. And I'm like,
That's how I always feel
oh,
about
well,
it. It
fair
was like I
enough.
was getting, I mean, I went on a piss most of the weekend. I was getting DMs like, "How do you feel about it?" Don't really care.
Oh,
Like
yeah, the
whatever they do, I'm
system
going to
will be
play the
fine.
game and enjoy it. So
Yeah, exactly that. With the chips and stuff, I did feel, oh, cool, this is good. With the defensive contributions, oh, cool, this is good. With this one, it was just like, all right, whatever the rules are, the rules are. Yeah.
yeah, a little bit of changes to BPS as well. Nothing too heavy. +1 for a save inside the penalty area.
Mm.
So it's now 3 BPS rather than 2. -1 for the penalty save. So it's now 8 instead of 9. But because it's saving the box, actually, it's still the same.
Yep.
Makes sense. Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
+6 for a clearance off the line. It was only 3 BPS. Now it's worth 9. Iliman and Dye likes to stand on the post for Everton, and I like him. So we've got double threat with him. He's probably on penalties and he likes to clear shots off the line, apparently. So he'd be getting 9 BPS for that now. That's an interesting one, actually.
Mhm.
But again, it's not the sort of thing you can, oh, yeah, he normally
Control.
stands on the
Yeah.
post. I'm going to pick him for FPL. It's most as well on corners. Most people don't have players on the post now. Most teams don't, sorry. -12 / -6 for a penalty scored. Same for each position. So it used to be 24 BPS if a forward
Yep.
scored, obviously included penalties. Now they're saying for a penalty, it's just 12 across the board.
Straight. Yep.
Would have been 18 for a midfielder. It's now just going to be 12, irrespective of position. So I like that. The value of
Mm.
a penalty not being deemed as worthy as much on a BPS. I know others will say a goal's a goal. It's also a fair opinion. And as you'd mentioned earlier, +2 each tackle won was previously minus if you'd lost. So it was like a net positive of +1 tackles versus lost tackles. Now it's just each tackle won will accumulate. So yeah, we are going to get circumstances next year where like a Casado or João Gomez is in the bonus.
Yep.
Fairly sure that will happen. I'm a little surprised that they didn't actually, having gone this far, change the 3, 2, and 1 tiering for
To what?
bonus. Well, more like almost like hitting tiers. So maybe if you're 30 BPS, it's one bonus.
Okay.
If you're 35, it's 2. If you're 40, it's 3. And if there's 4 players over 40, they all get 3. I'm not saying these are the levels. Maybe you need to be 50, for example. I did think having once the changes started coming, I thought, I wonder if they'll do that as well. It's
Um,
still fine the way it is.
it's an interesting concept. To be honest, I can't have an opinion on it until I would know like how would that have played out last season? I'm wondering because sometimes you get games where if a team wins like 7-0 and everybody's in the goals and assists and a clean sheet, you might get the whole team getting like 2 or 3 bonus each. So I'm not sure, but those circumstances are quite rare. Yeah, interesting.
Have you found the user interface?
Well, I set my team up on my phone quickly. I don't even know what my team ID is, but you know what they say about a man with a big team ID, James. And mine is big. Um,
Social
couldn't.
rank normally.
uh, Overall, it's fine. I couldn't work out how to make transfers for ages. Had to go into our Slack community. Someone explained to me, I'll go and click on the player, then scroll down to the bottom, select replacement. So this is a bit of a faff, mate. The design's nice. Usability, meh, whatever. But yeah, definitely is better on the website than it is on mobile, in my opinion. Like I
Oh,
can't
on the
really use
app.
it. Yeah, no, well, the mobile site or the app. Yeah. I usually play on desktop anyway because I work a desk job computer, so it doesn't really affect me. It's all right. It's nice looking. Whether or not it's as usable to be confirmed.
I'm not liking it. I
No.
think most people have said the same
Yeah.
thing, haven't they? So okay, it is what it is. That's not the most important thing. Positional changes. We've
Yes.
got a
Exactly.
few.
A
Let's
few.
start.
Not
Let's
loads, but
start.
a few.
Let's start with defenders. So Miles Lewis Skelly was a definite to be expected. Obviously, he was
Yeah.
classified as a midfielder last year.
Mm.
Keen Lewis
He's
Potter,
coming in with a
who
big price as well. We'll talk about prices, but I thought Lewis Skelly getting to defender was right, but he's also got a big old price there.
5-5. That's where I'd have had
Mm.
him priced at.
I suppose, would you say he's first choice now?
I'd have had him at 5-5 and had the 2 centre backs at 6.5 personally. But
Yeah, if I think if Arsenal fans say yeah he's first choice locked in, then yeah 5-5. But yeah,
well, Timber's same price, isn't he? I think that's arguably a
fair.
little bit safer in the sense as cover either side. Lewis
Lewis
Potter,
Skelly,
who
Lewis
obviously
Potter,
played
yeah.
left back. so much for Brentford last year.
Makes
That
sense.
the subject to fitness of Aaron Hickey, Rico Henry might be playing left wing,
Mm,
particularly if other players move, right? Obviously, Bumo was confirmed yesterday. Still links about Vissa. Nunes and O'Reilly have gone in as obviously classified as fullbacks now, technically. They would be really interesting if they became regulars you'd be comfortable with in the team. But like Nunes at 5.5 as a right back is amazing, mate. How many games are you going to
mm.
start? Like if it's 30 plus, I'm really interested, but it might be 19, it might be less.
Yeah, no, not on
Um,
my list, mate. No.
Another really interesting one to keep an eye on, Rodrigo Gomez, been reclassified as a defender, who may well become left wing back now that Eight Nori's gone. He's offensive like Eight Nori was, so he'd be another one to keep an eye on. Midfielders, Illiman and Dye is now in as a midfielder. I think we
Yeah,
knew that was going to
expected.
happen. Gakpo, Marmoush, Cunha. I'm fine with
Yeah,
all of them
yeah,
personally. Cunha didn't play nine a lot. Neither did Marmoush. Marmoush only really played there when Haaland was unavailable. And Gakpo predominantly played off the left last year, so they're all
yep.
fine. And Ryan Sessegnon played basically right side of midfield mostly when he did play last year, so that was an obvious push him forward. They're all fine. It's the Jared Bowen one that's caused a lot of surprise, reclassified as a forward. For the benefit of the audio listeners, Suj smiled but really shook his head. Go on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see him playing as a nine. I see him as a right-sided winger. I understand he played a number of games up top there, but it's because we had no forwards, right? If Fulkrug's fit, Fulkrug's going to play. We are looking to sign another striker. He's going to play off the right. We had a friendly at the weekend against Grasshoppers Zurich. He played off the right in that, and he looked good. Like he looked like Jared Bowen at his best coming off the right, which is his best position, sharp. I'm really surprised. Having said that, he's 8 million. And I looked at, he scored what, 13, 14 goals last year. If you take off the 1 point for goals and maybe points for bonus, take off 15 points, 18 points of his total, he's still in and around 175, 180. For an 8 million forward, 175 points. Is that all right? Possibly. But it stings a little bit that yeah, I don't think that's the right move. I don't
It
think he should be forward.
just makes my choices easier, personally.
Well, as
But
in
I,
he'd rule him out.
no, not at all. I mean, I was probably
Y-
struggling for forwards anyway, so he's very
Yeah,
much on the short list
I
for
thought
me.
so. Yeah, I think I haven't ruled him out as a forward at 8 million because I think his points return will be good enough for an 8 million forward. Um, Yeah, I think it shouldn't be overlooked is my thoughts on it because I think if you look at previous seasons, it might be a little bit less, but it does sting a little bit because he shouldn't have been classified as a
I,
forward.
I
But
don't think so, but I
he's gone.
also understand the logic behind it. They've looked at a lot of the positional stuff, but I do think, like, you look at, say, Marino is still a midfielder. The only time I really saw him start for Arsenal in the second half of the season seemed to be up
False
front.
nine,
So
yeah.
I'm not saying it doesn't matter because we wouldn't have considered Marino, but I think, yeah, you've not sold kudos to Judas for Jared Bowen to now be a centre forward, have you? You sold him
No.
so he can play right wing. And I think, yeah, you're right. I think it was largely a case of covering there. They've not deemed that the same as, say, with Marmoush. Yes, the volume of games is quite high in that position, but I think, yeah,
When we had no fit
I,
forwards,
I,
do you know what I
I would,
mean?
yeah, I wouldn't have changed him personally, but I don't mind it. Like,
Yeah,
I think forwards, you don't have as many choice with the forwards, right?
no.
But now, once you
You
break it
don't have as
down
many
now,
slots for
once you break it
forwards.
down now, it looks alien to see Bowen as a forward, and like Mo Salah's not really. So I'm not saying they should have moved all those players forward to forwards because I just think counter to that, you just have no midfield choices anymore
Well,
if you
yeah.
did that. So no, it's fine. I was surprised by it more than anything. But yeah, 8 million, oh, still very much under consideration, mate. Let's talk some of the price and then go on to big boys. Salah Haaland, 14 and a
Uh,
half and 14 respectively.
Salah, I'm fine with at 14 and a half. I think, yes. I think with the transfer activity that Liverpool have done as well, Um, yeah, 14 and a half is fine. If they'd gone to 15, it wouldn't be a problem. Haaland's an interesting one at 14. His last season didn't justify 14, but the capability absolutely does. Behind Mo Salah, he is the second most explosive player in the game. On his day, he's the most explosive player in the game. I think City, though, in a bit of transition, losing De Bruyne and some of the backup crew for him. So um, Yeah, I think Haaland, to make him tempting, would have had to be a little bit cheaper, personal opinion. But look, he's just so capable that I can understand it.
Yeah, I thought they were going to be 15, 14 respectively, so not far off. I just think
Mm.
Salah should have been at the 15 level. I don't know if there's any factor into AFCON even in that at all. Or the fact that there's like a knowledge of, well, he's not going to start 38 games. So therefore he's unlikely to match his total from last year.
But how often do you
Uh,
keep a player for 38 games? You know, we transfer players in, we transfer players out, right? Players
oh,
change in price over the season.
yeah, some people will never sell Mo Salah, mate. There'll be some people won't sell him during AFCON. They'll be reluctant. Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. Those two had to be ahead of the rest. I don't think Haaland could have been any cheaper because it's capable of what he could be.
Yeah, this is the thing. It's not justified, but look, the start to last season where he's banging in hat tricks week after week, he is the second most explosive player or slash most explosive player. He's got to
Although
be at that level
I did see a nice stat from FPL Nightmare who said Watkins has outscored him the last 2 years.
in goals. No,
Right, FPL points.
has he?
Apparently, that's what I saw. I didn't
All
check it.
right.
It looked good
Okay.
though. I was thinking, we don't want to, we wouldn't consider Ollie Watkins in at 14. If Haaland was 9, he'd be in everyone's team, wouldn't he? Worth saying in terms of the early ownership numbers, it's clearly going to be Salah rather than Haaland for most.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. But for
if
me, it's
anyone
that way.
if anyone wants to take Mo on, you know the danger. He never starts seasons well, does he? I'll just clarify for some people that's sarcasm. It would be Salah over Haaland for me as well, I think, at the start, but it might yet be neither.
FPL
Saka's,
Nightmare is correct, James.
yeah, is he? Yeah,
Last season was 186 to 181, and the previous season was what 22 something to 270. It's about 5-6 points per season, but he is
still.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Obviously, the starts has an impact.
Saka 10, Palmer and Isak 10.5. I think this is
Yeah,
roughly expectation, I think.
yeah. I think they're all fine. Saka obviously had a difficult season. He only started 20 odd games last season. Had he started a full season, he'd have been well over 200 points. So I can understand that. I think, yeah, they're all where I'd expect them to be. But Isak at 10.5 is not putting me off at all.
No, if you'd want. Would be conscious that they're looking for another forward. I think the problem with him next year is like I look at game week 4, and if I was to take Mo on, I think, oh yeah, Newcastle home to Wolves. If they're playing in the Champions League on the Tuesday and he's played for Sweden and stuff, I'm potentially a bit nervous.
Yeah, but we had that at the end of last season where like, is he carrying a knock? Is he need an operation? Does he need that? And he still trotted out most weeks. So yeah,
And
no, I'm not worried overly.
Alexander Isak will not start like 55, 60 games for Newcastle next year. That's the only thing. Whereas Saka and Palmer
He might
might.
start him for Liverpool, mate.
It's not happening.
Nah,
I mean,
nah.
Ekateke's
Now
going there
that
probably,
Ekitiki's
isn't he?
done, yeah, yeah, I'm in agreement. I'm only putting the boot in to wind up Newcastle fans.
One Liverpool price
Stay.
that did catch the attention via their WhatsApp votes, which, by the way, guys, if you do that again, it could just last 5 minutes. It doesn't need to last an hour. Florian Wirtz, 8.5.
Cheap.
It could be.
I think
Um,
it's cheap.
I saw one of our patrons, Jack Blackbird, did a little bit of an analysis on his returns, and he's streaky in terms of last year. You can have periods with quite a bit of blanks, and then quite a period you like feels like a must. Um, there's definitely temptation that price then 6 million cheaper than Mo
Yeah,
to have a bit of skin on
no.
it.
Um, yeah, but the price difference between Mo is irrelevant for me. It's both. Like I'm not looking at Verts as potential cover for Mo. We've tried to look at that in previous seasons, but like, can he cover him off type mentality? With Mo this season, it'd be Verts alongside
But
as
I
opposed
think if
to
you're
in place of.
like you say that, but then so I didn't start with Mo last year and obviously went with Jota quite early on. There's like that consciousness of I want something else because you're not having the king. So I think by natural, if you did want to take Mo Salah on, you are looking at Verts, you are looking at Gakpo, you probably will be looking at Ekiteke as different options to consider. He won't come in too high a price, Ekiteke. He's not going to come in
No,
at like 10, 11. Can't
no,
can't
no,
see
no.
it.
It'll be single digits for sure.
Marmoush is same price. With him, it's more, are we going to get something that's a little bit more structured in terms of he's regularly going to play here next year? Not sure. And they've got so many more players now. Foden's down to 8. that feels right. You know the capability. He obviously returned quite well at the Club World Cup, but his minutes weren't good to counter that. Like
Yeah,
Gakpo 7.5.
I think I'm not going to get two City midfielders. I'm going to go with Marmoush. So for Foden, I need to see it before I go in there. I'm definitely not starting the season with Foden.
Any thoughts on Bumo versus Cunha? 8 million. If you'd have an early preference on that between the two.
Cunha, but there's no like science or it's just a feeling. Is why I would go Cunha. Yeah,
I,
I
I,
mean,
I agree with that, by the way.
yeah, I don't know what makes me want to lean towards that. The truth is like, okay, so say we're playing this three whatever 3-5-2-1, is that what you'd call it? Do you think Ahmad will be the right wing back? Because he's
I
priced in at 6.5.
think Manchester United could really use having 12 players if they want to improve next year. That would be really good. 3-4-2-1 kind of,
Three,
yeah.
four,
I
two, one.
think
Sorry,
you're
yeah.
probably looking at Diallo like the Europa League final, probably. We didn't play. He played in a higher position, didn't he? See, I think I'm trying to think in my head if United don't buy a forward, and I think they will. What would they do opening day as it stands? Like, couldn't you play as the nine and you play Diallo and Bumo behind that, or Fernandez
Hmm.
and Bumo behind that, and have Diallo at wing back? Yeah, it feels like it's weird. I just feel a little bit more secure about Cunha. I also think for him going there, he's the sort of player who kind of revels in the I want to show
I'm the
you how good
man.
I am.
I'm the man. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but I think that Bruno at 9 and Ahmed at 6.5 are also in the conversation of potential assets that we might want to look at. So yeah, the answer to Cunha versus Bomo might not be either. It might be one of the others. But between the two of them at 8 million, Cunha's the one where I had my initial
And
gut
and
feeling to
and
go with.
and I tell you why that's really interesting as well because I would have priced Bumo higher off of last season.
Maybe, yeah, maybe
Second
by
highest
half a
scorer.
million. Yeah, maybe by
And
half a
yet,
million. Yeah.
yeah, when he came in, I wasn't like, gotta have a eight. I didn't think that. I thought, I still prefer Cunha here, actually. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Cut the forwards. Mention Watkins, obviously, next most after Isak at 9. The 7.5 bracket's going to probably feel like you're going to want at least one, I think, between sort of that area. Obviously, Bowen's in at 8, that range. João Pedro, Mateta, Solanke, Watkins, there's others. Evan Nilsson's
Havertz, maybe,
0.5
if you think
cheaper.
Havertz is going to start if Gyökeres doesn't eventually end up
He'll,
happening.
he'll go there, won't he? But I think, yeah, that area between the sevens and Bowen, I don't think people will want to go like Haaland, Isak, and Rodrigo Muniz, for example. I think you're going to want something in and around that range bracket. It's also why I think I definitely want at least one 6 million defender because there's too many of them, mate. There's 8 there,
Yeah.
and I can't see a scenario here where at least one of them isn't great.
Who's your
Eight
initial
players
who's your initial one that you think you want to go with?
be one of I would say one of two. It's not. It's one of four. If I had to do it right now, it'd be Gabriel or Cucurella. But
Okay.
ask me in a few weeks, and I've watched Liverpool. It might be Frimpong or Kirkes.
I think I want Cucurella, I want Frimpong, I want Gabriel. Those are my top three, I would say. I can see the appeal for a Virgil van Dijk or a Guardiola if you want a little bit more security. That
I
so
wouldn't. I
many,
wouldn't put Vardio in that security at the moment.
but he's
Personally,
not playing
I
left back. He's
really
playing
wouldn't.
centre back, surely.
But they've got Diaz,
Yeah, but
Akanji,
he's better
Aki,
than
Stones,
a Aki and a
Kusanov.
Kanji. I think he'd play
Is
alongside
it as a centre
Diaz.
back? I'm
Yeah.
not sure that Pep trusts him at centre back more than he would some of them others. Honestly, I think particularly Manuel Akanji would really trust.
Hmm. Yeah,
And
I don't know.
and as a consequence, I don't think it's like we can't say that Eight Nori definitely starts in game week 1 at the moment. You're gonna have one friendly off Man City, so that's my influence. With City, it's more. Do you know what? I'm gonna take a look and come back. I think
Yeah, I mean, I've got no desire to want to buy a City defender at all, to be honest. I'd actually go eight Nori if I was going to, who's also at 6 million, and take a punt on that. I'd rather take a punt on that than go Guardiola right now.
I'd be surprised if I start the season with a Man City player as it
Marmoush.
stands.
I think I'll
No.
be starting with Marmoush, but
So
that'll
I
be it.
probably want a bench boost game week 1. So these bastards are too much of a headache, mate.
Mm, okay.
4.5 defenders, as mentioned earlier, going to be kind of really popular. Few I noted down though, don't fall into this context so much. De Kuyper at Brighton is stupid and looks like he's going to AC Milan. So as we're waiting, as has already said, yeah, he's great. Keep an eye on him. Here we go again. Valentin Barco version 2.0. Destiny Doggy is in at 4.5. I can give a little bit of detail on that. That's quite interesting from Tottenham's friendly at Reading on Saturday. So Tottenham played two different systems, although to the naked eye it was the same. But in the first half, Porro was tucking in basically as a right-sided centre back, and Udogie was going basically left wing back, and Johnson held the right-hand touchline. So back to Destiny Udogie perhaps being someone who fly up the flank actually. So him at 4.5, interesting. Your boy Wan-Bissaka and also Diouf, who's joined you as well.
Youth.
And I suppose
He
Mac,
played the second half against Grasshoppers. He looked so much energy up and down. His crossing was really pinpoint.
mm,
If you said say to me take a 4.5 West Ham defender, I'd take Diouf over Wan-Bissaka right now based on the first half of football that I've seen from him for sure. Having said that, Wan-Bissaka also had a half decent enough game. Got to bear in mind who the opposition is. But yeah, they're priced well actually. That both of them are at 4.5 are interesting. Remember, first day of the season is Sunderland away. If you're bench boosting, might want a little bit of defensive something in there.
yeah, I mean you'll get beat 1-0 as you know, but yeah,
Well,
probably. Treble West Ham, here we go, mate. Um, yeah, I'd be interested in them. Obviously Kilman as well, possibly. But bear in mind some
yeah,
of the data had said earlier. I think why at this moment till I see Diouf, I'd prefer Wan-Bissaka is what we know historically as well from playing Sky, and that is his capability in terms of the tackles as well. That he might be a rare one as a fullback. Him and Munoz might be sort of rare ones. They might pick up the odd little bits in terms of
yeah.
the additional 2 points.
I'm going to keep watching the preseason friendlies as they happen. So if we get closer towards the season, that might change. But I mean, it's a toss of a coin there.
And ultimately, still like Ezri Konsa, probably won't be one that will get that many in terms of the additional 2 points and stuff. But I still like it as in they've got a great sort of opening 8 fixtures or so. And it's reliable in terms of the minutes, whereas the others aren't at the moment. So still like Konsa. Mark Gay, one to watch as well. Really interesting. They priced Lacroix higher.
Yeah,
And by the way, I think they were right to do it, which might sound mad, but him as the central centre back, I think, yeah, he'd have been racking them up next year. He also really underperformed his XG. I realise it's a centre back, but I think he was on top 10 underperformers in terms of for goals last year. So that's really cute pricing with Maxence Lacroix at 5 million. Gay obviously
it,
could move.
that's the biggest thing with Gahey is
If
like
he
if he ended up
moves,
getting them
though,
into Liverpool, that's a game changer. You're going to be taking a 4.5 million Liverpool centre back. Yes, please. Thank you very much.
not a guarantee that he'd play, obviously. It's worth
Eventually
saying.
he would though. I think he'd
I
work
would
his
agree with
way
that.
into the team after 4 or 5 games. I think he'd find himself a regular there.
But I think most other clubs, if he does go, he'd walk in near
Yeah.
enough of the clubs that have potentially been linked to him. So, yeah, definitely one keep an eye on. Goalkeepers, they've done great with this.
Mm.
They've done really well with this because I think most of us went, "Where's my fucking 4.5s yesterday?" Because it all looks a bit shit. They've done good. They've done really good with this. Obviously, you got Kelleher, Verbruggen, Petrovic, but ones we also thought might have come in at that range, sort of Sanchez, Vicario, etc. No. Anything that I think you had a predetermined, I'd really like that is near enough coming at 5. I think they've done a really good job with the goalkeeper pricing because it shouldn't be easy. And it's awkward for, take Petrovic. It's like, they want a bench boost game week 1 with two 4.5s and he's away to Liverpool. Right. Feels a bit disgusting, but their fixtures afterwards get better. But I look across the first 5, I don't know how much I'd want to play him.
I looked at it and I thought with all these goalkeepers at 5 and then the handful at 5.5, sod it. I'll just go Allison. Just keep it simple. Because I think at that difference between 5 and 5.5, I'd rather the security of him. He's like 160, 170 point a season goalkeeper.
Allison,
Yeah. When he's
what did he
played a
get
full
last year? About
season,
115?
no, but remember games he
Yeah, but
played.
yeah, but that's his problem,
The
Sush.
season before, 162. The seasons where he's played a full season, 162, 176. So 5 seasons ago, 176.
If I
And
was going,
also remember 5.5 versus 6 million for all of the defenders. I get the upside there, but if I need to save a little bit of money, I can see that. Now, take the Everton example, right? You got Pickford at 5.5, you got Branthwaite and Tarkowski also at 5.5. That's one where I probably would go Pickford, but need to have a look at these defensive contribution points now. Maybe Tarkowski. I'm not sure. It's an interesting one. The fact that we're having this debate means that the goalkeeper pricing is good, right? It makes us have to think about
yeah,
what we're going to do. Exactly that.
I think if I was going 5.5, I wouldn't go Allison because he'll miss a couple of games at some point. And if you ain't used that bench boost early, also as well, like if you want to use it early, 5.5s are like, oh shit. So you need a 4.0. We'll come back onto a couple of 4.0 goalkeeper options in a sec. But you kind of need that, right? Or what you can do
Yep.
5.5 and a 4.5 and then waste the transfer on a goalkeeper. So if I went to 5.5, I think it would be Raya or Pickford. And then I'm maybe not bench boosting early as well because I'm just hampering myself by going down that route personally. But yeah, I really like what they've done with the 4.5s. They've made that difficult. I like the difficult choice. One that lots are concerned about at the moment is where's the midfield enablers. I want to mention a few because a few of these might really step up because they might even move. So some of them might not, but give an example. Harvey Elliott, 5.5, has obviously been linked with yourself, Suj, and a
Yeah.
few other clubs.
I don't want to talk about him. Is he one of those? I want him to come to West Ham.
Okay.
Absolutely. If he does at 5.5, he will be a starter and he will definitely be a consideration. Yes.
James McAtee, Man City, might also be on the move.
Yep.
Could be another interesting one. Jacob Ramsey, caught my attention that one, even if he does stay at Villa, which seems the most likely at the moment. He has been linked with Forest a little bit. That caught my attention. Also, like Elliot Anderson,
Yeah.
5.5, by the way, at
I
that
think,
price.
and he comes up really good on the defensive contributions as
Yeah,
well.
he will
So,
do.
mm,
And he'll improve as well, having now got that kind of first real season of experience behind him as well. Few fives to mention Tyler Adams at Bournemouth, pressing side right.
mhm.
So his problem is always kind of keeping himself fit.
Fitness. Mm.
Could Fabio Carvalho at Brentford see some minutes now that Bumo's gone? Kobe Minu might be on the move for Manchester United.
What's he coming at
Interesting
price
price.
wise?
-5.
That's
Keenan Dewsbury Hall as well, right? Could another one you've been linked with.
Yep.
He's 5. Like Keenan Dewsbury Hall moved to West Ham. It's 5 million. Pretty interesting that, to be honest.
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
This is a,
agreed.
this is a problem that you realise this. Start the season, there's going to be quite a lot of interest in West Ham and Tottenham players. The community is about to feel how we felt for so long.
Good, good.
So I think at the moment it's difficult to see some of these enabling ones. I bet you by the time we start, one of these boys is on the move and quite popular.
Yep.
I think that particular one, Dewsbury Hall, if he left Chelsea, and I'm not suggesting that is going to happen, but yeah, it's a concern at the moment. But I think the closer we get, it might not be. This is also why they are absolutely right to wait as long as possible, really, in terms of opening the game, so they can do things like price James Trafford at 5 million, thinking that he's going to possibly move to like a Newcastle or a Man City. And you go, well, you can't price him that way, but you've got to use a bit of logic to it because if he's 4.5 and he goes to Newcastle, then there you go.
Everyone's seen.
Then
Yeah.
what was the point in pricing all them other goalkeepers at 5,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
um, goalkeepers, I'd favour in terms of, we'll just go through some pricing of a few positions. I would favour Raya Pickford of the 5.5s personally. Um, of the fives, if Trafford moves, I'd actually be quite interested in that potentially, subject to
Mhm.
where he went. If Edison went, it might bring Ortega to the table. And I still quite like Robert Sanchez at 5 million, actually. I
Yep.
know most Chelsea fans don't, but it should be over it now a little bit. I don't think with his performance at Club World Cup, I don't think there's going to be a rush for them to get another goalkeeper. I guess it's always a possibility, but I don't mind him as a 5 option. Of the 4.5s, Kelleher, Petrovic for Bruggen, really, I think. Couple of 4s to keep an eye on. as it would stand, Coldalo would probably start for Leeds. He took over from Milan Meslier towards the end of last season. So as it would stand now, there's every chance that he would start, but you can probably expect Leeds to buy a goalkeeper possibly. So that if you're looking at a 4.0 slot, I'm thinking of maybe bench boosting game week 1, that needs a late decision. And I would keep an eye on what's happening with Anton Kinski at
Yeah, I've
Tottenham.
heard rumours around that he might be more popular than Vicario with Thomas Frank.
I think if we're starting game week 1 tomorrow, I think probably Vicario starts. But there was a lot of thought process early in the season before we'd even played the first friendly that Kinski was better stylistically for Vicario. Having watched the two goalkeepers both play for a half each in Thomas Frank's team at the weekend at Reading, I can tell you that that's absolutely correct. That Kinski is better suited to the style. Unfortunately, and I know people like to dig Vicario out in terms of how he deals with balls into the box, for Kinski, it's a much bigger problem at the moment. So it's a trade off. In terms of distribution on the ball, yeah, Kinski is more suitable for this actually, because if you think about it, Vicario's role was just give the ball to Romero or Van der Ven. And often they'd go back to him and he'd go back to them because the fullback's always inverting. What Frank wants a lot is like dink the balls out to the fullbacks. So you're going over a longer distance. So Kinski's more suitable to that. But Vicario is still the better goalkeeper in terms of actually saving the ball, etc. He's one to watch. One to watch. And obviously, with Tottenham particularly, the Super Cup final will be a huge clue. If
Yep.
Kinski started the Super Cup final against PSG, you'd have to think he's number one.
Yep.
I think. So just keep an eye on that. I think it probably will still be Vicario, but keep an eye on that. Defenders, we talked about sixes, 5.5s. I quite like Timber as an option.
Yep.
Daniel Munoz. Palace's fixtures are indifferent in my opinion. Particularly like Chelsea and Villa are their first two away games. Doesn't feel great, but we know what he can be offensively. Absolute shame. The 5.0 area feels a bit of a graveyard to me at the moment. Levi Colwell and maybe Tino Livramento and maybe, but wasn't a lot I liked at that price.
I looked at Newcastle options. I don't know if Livramento's at 5 and Lewis Hall is at 5.5, and I need to save a 500,000. I might be tempted to make that saving there. Um, yeah, I did think Livramento was interesting at 5 versus the others at Newcastle, but I agree with you. It's the meh.
4.5s, we mentioned a few, just to throw Truffert in as well, who's joined Bournemouth, is going to take over from Kirkes. I did check with Neil Grover because a few people said to me that still thought Salah would get favouritism there. Neil was pretty confident that's not the case, and Truffert will probably end up being will start as first choice left back. He got a goal and assist like on his debut as well, so one potential to keep an eye on. Again, Bournemouth's fixtures are kind of hidden on the ticker because of Liverpool away first game. Once you get out of that, that's a good run pretty much for to go to the Etihad in game week 10.
Yep.
A few 4.0s to mention. Esteve at Burnley, purely as well because their fixtures are shy. I know Tottenham have got a long-standing interest in him. I don't think they're going to make any moves for him, but it wouldn't totally shock if he moved somewhere. Araujo will be in competition with Adam Smith, right back for Bournemouth. Not
Mm.
like a locked-in, nailed going to start, but an interesting one. Goodmanson, who's joined Leeds as their new left back, is highly likely to start, I would suggest at the moment, which is particularly interesting if Darlow is potentially going to start as well. It could be that all of us start with 4.0 Leeds defensive player of some sort. And Aidan Heaven's a really interesting one as well.
Yeah, I did
Um,
notice him there, thinking if there's any way that he can break into the team and have a regular run as a kind of third on the bench or
I,
what have you.
I don't know exactly when Lisandro Martinez is due back, but he would probably be the most comfortable playing as left-sided centre back.
Right.
Would guess. I guess it's also a little bit dependent, probably on Luke Shaw's fitness. Is probably a direct correlation here, because there are more options in terms of the wing back positions now for United. So, Aidan Heaven, I would say, is an interesting one. If Luke Shaw was injured in pre-season, and I hate to talk about this sort of thing, but it happens a lot, then he'd be a really interesting one potentially. 4.0 way into Manchester United's team. Mids. Anything stood out for you, Suj, other than some of the stuff we'd mentioned? Eze 7.5, Ismail Assar
Um,
6.5.
Well, look, Ismail Sarr and Eze started the same number of games, give or take one, and Sarr outscored him last season. Though Eze had really a season of two halves, didn't he? The first half of the season was all about the XG and XA, and the second half is when he actually delivered. So maybe Eze will kick on. I mean, Mohamed
Check the
Kudus.
weather. Check the
Yeah,
weather.
yeah, that's true. Mohamed Kudus, 6.5. I'd be very surprised if I didn't start the season with him.
Oh
Um,
wow! Even though you're Judas.
yeah, what's that got to do with FPL?
Yeah, I mean he's in for me at the moment as well. Yeah,
I just think that price is cheap, 6.5. Um, he's definitely a consideration for me. Baleba, Brighton, I don't know, 5 million if I'm looking for someone to fill a slot. Maybe I've got PTSD from the goal he scored against us right at the death of
maybe.
last season, but he has got that in his locker. And I think he's a good player. At 5 million, I think he'll be in the first 11 for Brighton next season. So I don't mind Baleba there, potentially at 5 million as well, is on the watch list at the moment as well.
Yeah, of the cheaper ones, people sort of highlight below 6.5. It's like, oh, it's really difficult to find anything. I've mentioned a few sort of the 5.5, 5.0 bracket. I know a few people quite keen on Gruder after the way he finished the season. I'd be quite interested in Jorginho Rutter at 6,
Mm.
subject to his pre-season now with obviously João Pedro gone. 4.5 that might be really interesting is one that you can't see at the moment. It's Tyler Morton,
Yeah,
who's
again,
who's
also linked with a
also been
move.
linked with you. Yeah, 4.5. If he moved, that might be your one if you want a 4.5 midfielder. Otherwise, there's nothing to look at there at the moment where I could say that's a definitive starter for certain for game week one at this moment. On Kudos, like him at 6.5, really like Iliman and Dyer at the same price as well. And I like Saar, I like all three of them actually at that price. With Kudos, I think it's worth previous discussions you and I have had. Look at his heat maps last season and the season before. His returns in the first season, predominantly all off the right, really good. Last year, obviously, is very much split between sort of right and left. Saw him at the weekend. Yes, it's giddy about the new signing and stuff. He took every corner that we had in the second half,
He never
from
took.
left and
I
right.
don't remember him taking any for us.
Took every single one, mate.
It's like the same as Declan
Both
Rice. So
sides.
he leaves and he's taking all the corners for Arsenal. Same with Kudus, eh?
So look, there was a lot of obviously Tottenham didn't have Porro on the pitch,
Mm,
Madison, Kulusevski's, other players, but some was on the pitch
yeah.
and Kudus to every corner from both sides. I thought it was quite interesting that. And I have no doubt about him being first choice. But
Who
the
who
one
um who took the
and
long
he'll play on the right.
throws? Who took the long throws? Just so we
There
know.
was not a single long throw. So
Oh, okay. The auditions must have been shit.
don't worry. When we play PSG, there will be. They're not going to give the game away, mate. So we'll
Yeah,
just
true,
be like,
true, true,
we play
true.
PSG. Oh shit, fucking hell! Why are Tottenham taking long throws? I'm sure Luis Enrique listens to this podcast regularly and is aware of what's coming.
Mm.
7 million bracket. Kevin Sade's price caused a little bit
Yeah,
of
he's on my watch
surprise, I
list.
think.
Just jump up another one that I don't know if we mentioned Clivert. He's 7 million,
And Semenyo.
158 points off 29 games last season. If he plays a full season, he's a 200 point player, Clivert. But yeah, moving on to Sade, I've got him earmarked as well, just because obviously if Boomer goes, he's going to, and if Vissa goes as well, you have that
Bumo's gone. You
dilemma.
know that's official,
Oh,
right? It
was
was
it
confirmed
official
last night.
yesterday?
Yeah,
I saw
confirmed last night.
there were rumors of his number 19 or whatever. I didn't see the final official announcement. Fair play. Well, we knew it was happening for probably the best part of
Oh,
five
so
weeks now.
boring. Yeah, yeah.
Sade is either without if Vissa goes as well, is it a case of he's not going to be as good because his mates are no longer there, or does he step up and fill those shoes? Because he did all right last season, 150 odd points, 149 points. Don't know.
In terms of Vissa,
No, Sade, would he be
oh,
as good an asset if Visser and Bomo are not there anymore?
I feel pretty secure about his minutes.
No, but I mean output. I'm talking about output.
Well, he finished the season quite well, didn't he? Listen, Brentford historically have let people forget. Tony only left last summer. I don't think people really feel that way. I feel like he'd been gone for longer. He covered it up really well. Now the manager's gone as well, so there's no knowing if others will step up. But he finished the season well. I wouldn't be concerned about his minutes particularly.
Yeah, it's more his
Um,
output. I'm not worried about his minutes. I think he's a starter. I just don't know whether the output will be there without the firepower. I mean, we'll talk about forwards in a minute.
I
I've
don't see
got
me
Brentford
paying.
forwards on my list, but yeah,
I don't see me paying a 0.5 more for him than those guys at 6.5.
yeah, agree.
Definitely having at least one of those three, I think, are the 6.5 ones I'd mentioned, are highly likely. Neto at 7 will get attention as well, obviously. And Morgan Rogers, of course. Two reasons. One, people loved him from last year. He's got the price hike that he deserved. But bottom line, Villa's fixtures are still great. And if you don't go with Watkins at the start, you're going to feel a consequence, I think, to want some of that offensively from Villa. So I think he'll still remain quite popular. Wouldn't rule him out. I'd probably favour Rogers of those three at 7, even though I think the other two, to be honest, the highest ceiling from the three of them is arguably Sade. Like if you said now one of them three will get 15 goals, I'd say Sade's the most likely.
Yep.
But I'd probably start with Rogers out of three, I think. In terms of forwards, it's just checking on a couple a little bit cheaper down. Danny Welbeck 6.5. You know what the concern always is with him.
It's all
Sebastian,
right.
I said Sebastian, Jorgen Strand-Larsen, sorry. Not the guy who used to play for Sunderland in midfield. Also 6.5. Bradley said if we ever get a penalty, this is our Wolves correspondent, he said Larson will be on him.
Yep.
So might want to factor that in. But he also said, I can't even remember thinking that we deserved a penalty last year, quite interestingly. And has offered his resignation as Wolves correspondent because he's not moaned enough. Tierno Barry's in at 6, and he's right on radar for me. I'll be keeping a close eye on him in pre-season. I think he'll go in as first choice ahead of Beto. Keen to see how he gets on in pre-season. I think that's an interesting one. I think Everton's fixtures are decent for a sustained period. I've got him in mind. I'm gonna watch him. Rodrigo Muniz 5.5, which man, suddenly if Jimenez is injured would be really interesting. I think,
Or
or he
moves.
goes to
Yeah.
somewhere.
That
Yeah,
for me, it's more interesting if he moves. I think there's a number of clubs that he'd be a good signing for.
it depends
Yeah.
where though, doesn't it? So Leeds is the one that's been mentioned the most. If he goes to Leeds, he's first choice. If he went to Newcastle as a hypothetical Callum Wilson replacement, he's not, is he?
No.
So it would depend where. And actually, Joel Perot, if Leeds don't add, might be interesting at the same price as well. Brighton's new forward Costulas is in at 5, but no indication of whether he'd be likely to start at this stage, and I suspect most likely not. Mark Gu at 4.5. Again, another one if he moved.
Yeah.
I feel like he's one that if he does, though, be like, he's gone to Burnley on loan on August the 31st. It would be like that sort of thing. So probably not one to start with.
Look, we've had what was the forward from Chelsea who went on loan to Everton and everywhere. Why does his name escape me? With the
Uh,
beard.
I'm not going to tell you. I'm just going to let you suffer.
Oh, come on. He was always such a potential asset, but even every time we went on loan, never really delivered. He was at Southampton, he was at Everton. Can't remember his name.
Suffer, boy.
Um,
Armando Broya.
Breuer. Breuer. But he just never really delivered from an FPL point of view. There's no doubt there's a player in there. I don't know if Gui would be a similar situation.
Probably. But I do think one of the interesting things that's done with some of the pricing here is that we've probably all had a subconscious of like 3-4-3, 3-4-3. There's a few things that have happened here that might make us change it. And I'll tell you one that would be potentially really interesting if something happened to Evan Nielsen, is Ellie Junior Krupe at Bournemouth, who they signed permanently from Lorient, who you know they have a relationship with, in February. And he scored 13 goals in his final 13 games in Ligue 2
Okay.
at Lorient. He's only 19. He's a pup. There's no expectation he's going to come in and play. But as a 4.5 forward, I guess after time, all you're looking for, if you have one of them, is something from a minutes perspective. Keep an eye on him pre-season. There might be. I guess that concludes an early wrap.
The only other forward is again if Vissa moves, because there has been talk about a number of clubs coming in for him. Do you think Thiago at 6.5? Because who else would Brentford play up top?
Good shout.
I think it's a decent price if Vissa moves, and I do think Vissa potentially could move.
I think the
Likes
only
of
thing we've got
yourselves, the
to,
likes of Newcastle are in for him. It could happen.
I think the only thing we've got to do with that is Bumo's gone. if Visser goes as well, you're absolutely right. You could see a scenario suddenly where Brentford's front three is like
Lewis Potter,
Sade,
Sade, and
Thiago,
Jado.
Lewis Potter, exactly that. And then maybe all three of them are quite interesting. You've got Gustavo Nunes, another young player who's there as well. But what are Brentford likely to do? They're going to buy,
Buy.
aren't they? Yeah, right. If they've been given like, I don't know, 120 million, they're not just banking it. That
Mm.
money's going to get reinvested into that team in some form somewhere. So if you went, oh, right, this has gone, Thiago's like, oh, he's nailed. Yeah, that's great for game week one. But by the way, the transfer window's open for another couple of weeks afterwards. I'd be very conscious of that. So might be one that you go, yeah, he could be good. He's probably not one I'd want to start with until I knew what Brentford were doing from a rebuy perspective, if you will.
Yeah, indeed. Good, good, good. Cool. James, you are on holiday. So let's wrap this episode of Planet FPL. Listeners, there's no point in joining our Patreon right now because you can't. Am I right? They can't join till the 1st of August,
No,
can
you
they?
can join.
Oh, you can join as a free member or a paid member as well.
You can pay if I mean, just,
Oh, do it.
I'd,
Oh, go on
I'd
then.
probably,
Sign up to
I'd
Patreon.
probably, I'd probably wait another week, but yeah, you can if
Yeah,
you want.
yeah. If you want to, you can get access, obviously, some of the back catalogue of content and what have you, access to our Slack community. There are people that have been joining throughout the month, and we appreciate each and every one of you, not only for joining up and signing up to Patreon, but any other support that you give, whether you're subscribing to the show. We want to get to 20K on YouTube, so subscribe, hit the notification bell if you're listening there, leave us a review. It all goes a long way. However, in the meantime, we're checking out now. James will be back on the 1st of August. Stay in the sun a little bit. Don't stay in the shade. We want to see you like a little bit browner, closer to my shade. But
Coming
we
back
will be
looking like a
back
baboon's ass is what you're expecting,
end
isn't
of
it?
next week. Listeners, thank you for your support. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Give it a share if you think other people will value it. And we'll be back at you at the end of next week. Stay safe. Look after yourselves. Ciao for now.
Thanks, everyone. Be nice to each other. Support other content creators. Cue music, please. Man sharp.